Hello, I'm Gloria, a 36-year-old office professional navigating the ups and downs of everyday life. My husband, Matthew, and I recently celebrated our 8th wedding anniversary. Not long after we got married, we became parents, and now our daughter, the most cherished part of our lives, is approaching her 8th birthday. Our marriage has had its fair share of challenges over the years, but the joy our daughter brings us makes it all worth it. Despite the struggles, I find contentment in our family life. However, like many families, we have our share of issues, and one of the biggest for me is how we manage our finances. Matthew is passionate about his hobbies, and while he doesn't go overboard, a significant portion of his income tends to go toward them. I've always emphasized the importance of him contributing a set amount toward our household expenses, covering things like bills and groceries. Yet, his contributions only stretched to the basics, and I often find myself tightening our budget elsewhere. My salary mostly goes toward rent, our daughter's education, and saving for her future, and balancing all these financial responsibilities has become quite stressful. Another ongoing issue is the uneven distribution of household chores. Even though we both work full-time, Matthew rarely helps with the tasks around the house. I've addressed this repeatedly, hoping for more teamwork when it comes to maintaining our home. Managing work, finances, and the household is exhausting, and I wish the burden were more evenly shared. Still, I try to stay positive, focusing on creating a loving and supportive environment for our daughter. As she grows, I hope we can teach her the value of collaboration and shared responsibility, making adjustments as needed to support each other better. It may not be perfect, but I'm determined to make it work. When I ask Matthew to pitch in with the housework, his usual excuse is that the tasks would take him too long, and it's easier for me to do them myself. Over time, I've ended up handling all the household duties alone. We had our daughter soon after getting married, but Matthew was often absent when it came to raising her. He voiced concerns about unintentionally hurting her, which led me to take on most of the parenting duties. As the years went by, my frustration with him grew, but we had already been together for 8 years and had a young child. I wasn't sure if it was the right time to consider divorce, especially with our daughter entering puberty. I told myself that maybe it was normal for couples to drift apart over time, and that no family was perfect. But a recent event involving my sister-in-law made me seriously reconsider our marriage. One evening, she showed up at our door looking distressed. "Gloria, I'm so sorry, but I need to stay here for a while. There's been an issue with Ryan," she said, visibly upset. I immediately feared something had happened with her husband and asked for more details. She hesitated, trying to change the subject, which only made me more anxious. That night, after Matthew returned from work and we put our daughter to bed, we sat down together to talk. "So, what happened?" I asked, directing my question to my sister-in-law. She hesitated before answering. "Ryan snapped. He said out of nowhere that he wants a divorce." I was stunned. I'd always thought of Ryan as calm, steady, and sincere, so this sudden outburst was completely unexpected. I pressed for more information, asking, "What made him so angry?" She seemed defensive, her voice rising in panic. "Why are you asking me that?" she snapped. A thought crossed my mind, maybe she had done something to provoke him. Her evasiveness only deepened my concern. "What do you mean? Why am I asking?" I replied. "Why are you defending him? Are you involved with him?" Her response was a sharp accusation, which caught me off guard. "Of course not," I quickly assured her. "I'm not involved with Ryan." Matthew, overhearing the exchange, dismissed her suggestion with a laugh. "That's impossible," he said. "She barely has time for anything other than her responsibilities, and she always leaves her phone in plain sight." Despite his defense, frustration built within me. My life was a constant whirlwind of work, housework, and caring for our daughter. After long days, I had little energy to check my phone, let alone entertain any sort of affair. Still, my sister-in-law insisted she didn't know why Ryan was upset. We decided it would be best to speak to him directly to get clarity. A little while later, Ryan arrived at our house. My sister-in-law, still uneasy, chose to step out and give us some space. Ryan, looking apologetic, expressed regret over the chaos he had caused. "I'm really sorry for all the trouble," he said, his calm demeanor confirming my belief that he wasn't the type to act rashly. Ryan, I don't understand, I said, pressing him. You've only been married a year. Isn't asking for a divorce a bit extreme? There must be a reason. Ryan took a deep breath before revealing the shocking truth. The reason is that she spent all of my savings, $110,000, without telling me. The room fell silent. You saved $110,000. And it's all gone in a year? I asked, my disbelief clear. That's about $5,500 every month. How did that happen? Ryan explained that he had been carefully managing their finances, setting aside just enough for their living expenses, but the entire $110,000 had been spent on unnecessary luxuries, entertainment, and personal indulgences. No wonder you're upset, I said, empathizing with him. Anyone would be furious in your shoes. My mind immediately went to my own situation with Matthew, whose tendency to overspend seemed to mirror this. It almost felt like a family trait. After hearing about the massive financial strain, I suggested, if she doesn't make an effort to pay back the $110,000, maybe you should seriously think about separating, especially since there are no children involved. Ryan nodded, clearly considering my advice. But then Matthew surprised me. I'll make sure my sister pays you back, he said confidently. I was taken aback by his sudden certainty. How could he be so sure? Ryan looked at him with gratitude. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. It seemed like we had reached a temporary resolution, but I knew this situation wasn't over. As Ryan left, my sister-in-law returned, the tension still thick in the air. I immediately confronted her. Ryan told me you spent all of his savings, $110,000. She became defensive right away. I used it for living expenses. She shot back, her tone sharp. I tried to explain the issue, but she refused to listen. Ryan had made it clear that he kept a separate account for daily expenses. Her response was dismissive, almost scornful. You don't know anything, so just shut up. Her harshness wasn't surprising. She had often belittled me during our conversations. But this time, her complete lack of remorse and dismissive attitude about the mess she had caused made it clear. Ryan might truly be better off filing for divorce. She showed no signs of acknowledging the gravity of her actions, and there was no indication she planned to make things right. It painted a grim future for their marriage. During our heated exchange, Ryan mentioned he might consider forgiving her if she repaid the full $110,000. My sister-in-law, cornered by her own actions, lamented, "How am I supposed to pay that back? I'm just a housewife." I firmly said, if you can't repay it, you shouldn't have spent his money in the first place. The atmosphere grew tense, and then, almost as though she'd had a realization, my sister-in-law looked at me with a spark of hope. Calm down, Gloria. We have money, right? You've saved up $220,000. So no problem, right? She said, almost smugly, as if she had found a perfect solution. I was taken aback. How do you even know about my savings, Matthew? I asked, shocked. I had never told anyone about the savings I had set aside for our daughter's education. Matthew, nonchalantly, responded, I found it while going through your parents' house. It was in the second drawer of your closet. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You went through my things without asking? That's unbelievable. Just because we're married doesn't mean you have the right to invade my privacy. I protested, feeling betrayed. Matthew brushed off my anger, continuing, your sister-in-law needs help. Give her your savings. I was furious. No way. That money is for our daughter's future. If you think $110,000 should just be given away, figure out how to pay her back yourself. Without hesitation, Matthew reached into a drawer and pulled out divorce papers. I had these ready, just in case, he said coldly, as though he'd been planning this for a while. My frustration boiled over. How dare you try to manipulate me like this? I snapped. I've been wanting to tell you the same thing. My voice trembled with anger. Then, with chilling finality, Matthew filled out the papers and said, I mean it. We can get a divorce whenever you want. To my disbelief, my sister-in-law, watching the whole scene with a grin, packed her things. I'll be one of your witnesses, she said, signing the form as if it were just a casual document. You can either pay me the $110,000, or we'll get a divorce, Matthew threatened, trying to force me into a corner. I was stunned by their boldness, But instead of giving them the satisfaction of seeing how much their words hurt, I stayed silent, letting the moment pass without further escalation. The next day, I decided to take control of the situation. I invited my in-laws and Ryan to our home. When they arrived, Matthew was confused. "Ryan, why are you here?" "Mom, Dad, what's going on?" he asked, bewildered. Before he could say anything else, his father spoke up, calm but firm. "Matthew, stop embarrassing yourself," he said, turning to me. He added, "Gloria, I'm sorry for my son and daughter's foolish actions." Ryan also apologized. "I'm sorry to you, Gloria," he said sincerely. Their apologies hit me like a bombshell, but the tension didn't ease. Matthew, still seething, tried to take control. "Why are you two apologizing? Just be quiet." Ignoring him, his father went on, "We went through your room, Matthew, and found expensive bags and jewelry." His mother added, "Ryan asked us to look, and it's clear you've been hiding expensive purchases from us since you were a kid." The truth hit hard. Matthew's deceit was undeniable. His mother, faced with the mounting evidence, finally said, "I can't stay married to you anymore." The tables had turned. Matthew's financial misdeeds were exposed, and everything I had suspected seemed to fall into place. The situation shifted again when it came out that my sister-in-law had lied about using the $110,000 for living expenses. "I want you to repay me the $110,000, Ryan said, his voice steady, surprising everyone, especially Matthew. "I've already taken action," Ryan continued. "Matthew, you're getting a divorce too. The lawyer has already filled out the divorce papers, and I signed as a witness. We've submitted them." My sister-in-law's challenge to Matthew left him livid. "I won't let this happen," he shouted. I couldn't contain my frustration. "You won't let it happen? What do you mean? You've been threatening divorce and trying to make Gloria, who has nothing to do with your sister's debts, take responsibility for it all. You're despicable. Gloria is my wife, not your property," I fired back. "She didn't grow up in your family. You should treat her with respect." Ryan added his voice, "I'm with Gloria on this. You've crossed the line." Faced with such calm but firm support from my in-laws, Matthew had no words. He lowered his head in shame. My sister-in-law, clearly shaken, stood silently, overwhelmed by the turn of events. Fortunately, my in-laws helped guide the conversation, assisting Ryan and me in moving through the divorce without further drama. In an effort to make things right, my sister-in-law sold as much of her luxury items as she could, raising $45,000 to repay Ryan. My in-laws covered the remaining $30,000 and would monitor her payments to ensure she paid off the debt. This arrangement brought some balance and ensured accountability while giving Ryan and me the chance to move forward. After the divorce, my sister-in-law found herself in a tough financial spot. She now works tirelessly, day in and day out, struggling to repay the debt she created by mismanaging her former husband's savings. Her days are long and draining, leaving little time for rest. As for my ex-husband, the divorce forced him to make some serious changes. I arranged for him to provide child support, which he has managed to pay consistently despite his circumstances. However, I've heard that he now lives alone in a modest apartment. His salary, though decent, is stretched thin by rent, living expenses, and child support payments. Eventually, the financial pressure forced him to move to a less expensive apartment. Sadly, his habit of unnecessary spending hasn't helped, and even in a cheaper place, he often finds himself without savings and struggling financially. This instability will likely prevent him from entering another relationship for a while. Meanwhile, I've moved back to my parents' home with my daughter. Being under their roof has helped stabilize our lives, allowing me to focus on the future. My parents have been incredibly supportive, especially with childcare while I work. This support has been crucial in helping me get back on my feet after the divorce. I'm working hard to meet our day-to-day needs and save for my daughter's future. I want to ensure she has every opportunity to pursue her dreams without financial constraints. This new chapter in our lives is a fresh start, and I'm determined to make it a successful one. I plan to keep sharing our journey, hoping it might inspire or help others facing similar challenges. If you find our story engaging and want to follow our journey through this new phase of our lives, please subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me, and I look forward to connecting with you in future videos. Thank you for watching.